All right, we are live, gentlemen.
What's up?
Jason, Colin, Jared, time for our Acuitas update video. Got some, some cool new things we want to talk about and answer some questions we had and kind of show you the status of the update. You know, the VIP channel has lots of discussion and screenshots, and we're doing all this stuff, but this is kind of for everybody else who's outside of that loop. So we kind of wanted to go over some stuff, right? Right.
Yeah.
What you got, man?
Why don't you do questions first?
Questions first. We had a few. Let me go back here. We had some old ones. Let me go back. Whoops, you caught me off guard, dude. Right. Yeah. So the first question is asking about money management strategies. You know, for example, I want to risk no more than 2% of my trading capital on any one trade and place a stop loss order accordingly. Can I set the amount of capital deployed into the market? Example, no more than 50% aggregated trading capital exposure. Essentially, he wants to say, look, I got 3 Bitcoin in my account, but I don't want all of that exposed. Are we going to handle that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yes, we are. Will your bot be able to execute orders at market rather than using limit orders?
Yay.
Yeah, yes. Yes, we can also do that. We've been digging around in the API, and there's lots of ways to do that. That'll lead us to some order book conversation, which I'm sure we'll have in a little bit.
Yep.
Can you set the bot to look at events based on the last complete formed bar, irrespective of the time frame chosen? For example, I want a clear established EMA cross on the previous bar, not the current one. Colin will be smiling at that one. we can actually do both. We can talk about that and how we're talking about two different ways to look at market formations. But the answer is yes to that one. What are your plans to support margin trading and short selling on Bitfinex, BitMEX, or other platforms? We've had a lot of talk about that. That's a relatively complicated setup. We do plan on supporting it. Yes, probably not right out of the box, but
No.
we understand the need for for margin trading especially for people outside of the U.S. So that's definitely something we're addressing. But that
Is that not legal in the U.S. or wait, you need like some special regulatory thing, right? Because I just saw this past week, like Polo's, they closed theirs down. They're closing it down
I know.
because
It's right.
some regulatory requirements
Well,
or something.
because the SEC has requirements on securities, but nobody's really said
Yeah.
if these are securities or not. So there's a really good chance that they're just playing it safe. That if and when some of these are declared securities, they're not caught with their pants down. Colin can probably verify, but I'm pretty sure there's a requirement of a minimum account balance of $25,000 if you're a U.S. citizen and you want to do margin trading, and you can never go below that amount or whatever. So
Yeah, there's some rules about accredited investors. Basically, are the only ones that can do margin trading. I mean, there's very good reasons as to why your U.S. clients are not allowed to sign up to BitMEX.
Right.
The U.S. just makes regulation that little bit
Well,
harder. So
I mean, I could easily take the argument that that's not a great idea, but I get it. I understand the protections involved, so that's probably a whole other beer discussion, right? But yes, they're but outside of the U.S., and we have a global user base, so it's definitely something we have to consider. I do not know if we end up having any KYC requirements, for that. I don't know if the onus falls on us for that or not, but that's definitely more of a legal thing. So anyway, long story short, we would like to support that, yes, but there's questions to be answered, for all of that. Okay, well that was pretty much all the questions from a guy named Mr. Reynolds. So hopefully he watches this. Maybe I can forward it to him, and he will know his questions have been answered.
Cool.
Cool.
I was just wishing I had some screenshots of so basically what have we been working on since the last time we chatted? I think there's been a couple of things that we have gone through with our VIP users. I think one of them has been our setup. If I just go from the beginning of the bot, like, we had this this kind of 5-step process where you'd fill in this form, fill in this form, fill in this form, fill in this form. And it's like, there was a lot of stuff that we were doing, once you got to the end, like, we have the cloud backend that, houses all the accounts and licenses and stuff like that. And so, it's like we create things locally and then we create it, on the cloud side. And it's just like, a lot of people were coming up with a lot of errors for one reason or another. So, one of the things that I set out to do like the other week was basically to rewrite the whole setup and everything and to make it just simpler. And I don't have screenshots for it, but that's basically what we did. I really looked at it and thought about it, and it was just like, the goal was to see how much we could cut out, and basically what was the bare stuff that we would really want. So before we were collecting like your time zone and your locale and everything, and so we punted a lot of things out. And so basically now in setup we have 2 steps. And the steps give you a lot more feedback too. So the first step is like, your name, your email, and your license, for us, that's it. And, it'll verify, it gives you the feedback is really good. And then, you get to the next step and it's just like you put in one API key. So we're only using one key now. We're using a real key because we're starting to get account data and stuff. So, we basically just verify with Binance that the key works, and then you're done. So we've had a lot of people that said on the VIP that they like that flow and everything.
Well, the most important part of that is there's validations at every step, right? We're validating the license, we're validating your email, we're validating your Binance keys correct. Like you can't get in unless all of those things are correct, which that solved a lot of problems, no doubt.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was one thing that we did. And then the other things that we decided we really needed to dig into was all the accounting stuff. So, we spent a lot of time on the back testing, working with the accounting, adding new things. And let me go over to that really quick. So yeah, we I don't think we had it last time, but we have a notion of like what's one that has a big what do I have? XRP, EOS, yeah. Fill some of these guys in. Yeah, so I don't think we had it before, but now we basically have the types of we'll call them the order by types that you use to run your back test. So this is you can set a percentage of the capital, or you can set like a fixed fee, right? So if I say I want to run this back test and I have a Bitcoin, I run a percentage of my capital. Then what we do is because we're subscribing to all of these data feeds, which I'll go through in a couple minutes, like tickers and all kinds of stuff, we know how we can calculate all that out. So, we have a little blurb down here that says, 15% of your starting capital is approximately, 595 EOS, right? And, we give you a little bit of USD in there as well. So it gives you an idea of like, okay, this is what I'd be playing with if I was, running this percentage. We also have the fixed order amount, which is, in this case, I can just do a straight fixed BTC amount, so 0.01, or I can do 0.025 or whatever, right? And again, we run that calculation through, and we tell you, how much EOS approximately you'll be running on that. So we added that. We cleaned a lot more of this up, so it's we had people that were having problems, like they wouldn't fill fields in. So it's like now it's like I can't run and click on anything until I fill in my time span and everything. And now my run button is there. So there's just a lot of little things like that. Also, we introduced slippage and fees for this. So I don't know if one of you guys want to talk about that really quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we needed to account for the various fees on not just Binance, but other exchanges too. And initially, it's kind of my fault. We went through and I was trying to do all the math and make sure that we were properly calculating exactly how Binance was going to be taking stuff away. It quickly became obvious that that wasn't the best way to go about it, right? Because really, you're paying fees, in your quote the first time, and then you're paying fees in the base on the way back, and it's 0.1% each way, or maybe less if you're using BNB. It was just like, what, we're just going to let the user kind of calculate, put in what they think they're going to lose on a trade. Essentially, because this is backtesting. This is just to get you an idea of what your strategy looks like. So putting that in there for each trade line, it's going to subtract that and give you an actual, win-loss for each trade. So you're not trying to do these quick scalps and realizing that, what you thought was a profit really wasn't, So that's pretty much it. It's just a variable that subtracts that from each trade.
Yep. So I'll run that really quick. And so yeah, again, we tightened up all of the numbers and things. And yeah, I mean, this kind of looks the same, but it's like we got the real fees and everything in here in our trade list. And not really much of this other stuff has changed. Again, I think we're the only guys where you can actually look at a trading view graph with the strategy on your back test and make sense of it. I know there was one guy recently, I forget who it was, in the VIP room saying like he was playing with back testing for like 3 hours or something,
with two broken strategies. Well, not broken,
yeah.
but pretty essentially useless strategies, right?
Demo strategies. Yeah, exactly.
Great. That's good stuff.
So he totally loved it. So he was just like totally into it. So yeah, again, tightening, cleanup of back testing. Some of these UI things we did too, so that was pretty fun. So what the accounting, why we did this is because, again, we work kind of like back testing is from the back and our way forward, right? We look at back testing, like, if you look at logically, like how I would want to really do trading, I want to start with my back test. I want to then go to paper trading and I want to watch that thing, simulate in real time. And then I want to take that paper trade and I want to go live with it, right? So it's like, so when we do the accounting, it's like we do the same process. We step from the back and then we start working our way forward, right? So basically we've been applying that stuff to paper trading. And one of the things that we did was I added in a place where there's no way I can show it without exposing my API key, but I can just make a new key. So now like back testing for paper trading, you can specify a, let's see. You can specify basically starting capital and, your current balance is basically what the accounting will work with, when it's making the trades and everything. So this is still being hooked up right now, but basically like people were asking like, how am I going to get my, my BTC in or whatever in for back testing. So, we basically added a section here now in settings where you can do that. So, 1526858 or whatever is basically what we see up here. So this is our value and our available. And we're going to, this coming week, basically, I'm hooking those up to where we're going to treat those as sort of like you would have on the exchanges. And this value and the available is going to go up and down based on, where you are at all your trades and everything. So the next big thing that we did in relation to all of the accounting is...
There
it goes.
Ooh,
and weird.
Shiny.
We are maintaining an order book. So we are actually maintaining the real order book. And if I move this guy over and if I look, these numbers all line up. So yeah, you can see the asks and the bids are all pretty much like in line with, what we have on Binance and everything. And we did this because, again, like when we went through August and we dealt with all the data issues, one of the things that we kicked till later was all of like, just pouring all this data down onto the server and, like using all the APIs and everything. And so after we decided to change that, what we wanted to do was we wanted to better utilize the API keys and the data feeds and everything. And so now, instead of like, we don't need two API keys to run this bot, you use one, because we don't really depend on the REST APIs for fetching the data. What we depend on is all the data feeds, and then we basically, pull them in locally, and then we push them out through all the layers of the bot, right? And so that's exactly what's happening here. Is we have I have, a order book feed for, is this Ethereum? Yeah, for Ethereum, and basically we're subscribed to that. It's coming into the system, and we're basically getting it ready to use it on the paper trading side. So for the paper trading, what we're going to do is, before, like, you would have to, when you were ready to make a trade or look at something, you'd have to go fetch, okay, let me fetch, like, what's the ticker for Ethereum, and then let me make a fetch to ask, what's the order book, availability, and then after that, you make a third fetch, and you're like, can I make the order, and then you make the order, right? Well, it's like now, because we have all the stuff streaming in, it's all, saved locally, it's already there, it's updated, every second. We get to cut out a bunch of API requests, and so what I'm working on right now is basically using the ticker and the order book to decide on the paper trading if we have, the quantity there available to place that order, right? And if we do, then we make one call out, to Binance, and then, we place the order there. So I think that's going to help a lot of things, and it's going to allow us also to, I think, just react faster, because, when we're not like making a bunch of API calls all the time, there's other things we can make the bot do. And so this was one of the big things, was getting this all, connected and hooked up and everything. So now that we have all this in place, now basically, I can finish connecting up all the dots, and our orders will be checked, and then this balance is going to be updated accordingly, and we'll be really, really close to that, basically that functionality of what it needs to do when it does a live trade. And the other reason why we're doing this is because if we do 95% of the functionality on the paper trading, and prove it out, beta test it, bulletproof it, and everything, we're going to have very few problems when we do the live trading. And plus, we already have a bunch of functionality in there that we can reuse for the live trading. So we'll actually be able to bring the live trading, to market quicker and everything. So there's there's a lot of usage of why we're doing it this way. The other thing is we already have in there the ability to do market and limit orders too, and I've written all the tests on it. They all pass. They all work as expected. So
well, that goes into the market. The market order goes into the order book too, right? Because if you can say, look, obviously, if there's only one token for sale at the price you want, there's a bunch below that. If we set, look, I'm willing to accept, a certain percentage less than what I really want, as long as my order gets filled. That's where the order book really comes in too. We can immediately do that calculation and go, well, how much quantity is really available at what prices? You average those together, and you understand what your average market order is going to be before you submit it. Now, granted, there's a few seconds, of lag even there, but you have a much better chance of getting the price that you want with a market order versus just kind of rolling the dice and going, well, I'll just take what's there. I mean, essentially that's what a market order is. But what I'm saying is we have this quick snapshot and calculation before you execute that to essentially post the best odds, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, and it shouldn't be a couple seconds. I mean, this data, we're getting the push every second, right? And in order to do that market calculation, it doesn't take a second to do it. I mean, we do it very quickly.
I meant round trip. Like, we have to calculate it, then you send it to the exchange and it has to execute. So, I mean, whatever time.
Yeah, right.
You feel me?
Right,
I mean, when I said a couple seconds, I that's variable, right? You don't know where they are, what their lag time is to the exchange, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But point is, you're going to post way better odds being able to make that calculation beforehand rather than just saying, well, I'm just gonna just submit the order, and it is what it is, because it's blind.
Yeah.
It's not blind anymore, is what we're saying.
It's not. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes, and the other thing that's gonna be really cool that is obvious on this is we'll be introducing like this. I forget what I have the title of it. I don't have it anywhere over here, but we're going to want a longer term like trade log, right? Because right now I'm capping this at like 24 hours, because let me just move this guy over now. We're just not going to keep over 24 hours, on for the screen, right? So we're going to do two things. We're going to have the trade log, and so that's going to be your historical that you're going to be able to see everything. And the other thing that's going to be really cool that all this stuff is tying into is we're going to have like I think I call it like an order trace log or something. And what that is basically that is going to be like this log file that's going to show specifics of why the bot did or didn't get in and out of an entry and exit, right? So you can imagine in that scenario where it's like for the market order or something, it's basically like it's looking to fill, it couldn't for whatever reason. We didn't make the entry, and you're like, what the hell? Why didn't this thing do this? Well, it's like we'll have this trace log where you can go in then and you can see like why didn't it do it, So I think that's going to be like a cool thing to, expose and just to kind of give to people to where, it'll let them, like all this, right? Like you can look at this visually and you can see like, I can see what's going on here, and there'll be an extra thing of like, well, it should have entered there. Why didn't it enter there? And, oh, okay, it said this. That totally makes sense, So I think that's another piece that's going to be really cool that, isn't going to be like, this super touted feature, but I think once people have that, I think they're going to get really used to using it because, I keep looking at this all the time and I'm like, well, why did this happen or that happen? And I had the logs running, and everything, but it's like, there's so much log data that comes through. It's just like, I'm not going to, deal with looking at that all the time. So having it in a way that's presentable and easy to digest, I think people are going to find useful. So that's coming in the next couple.
Well, and I think we're like I said, we already did the work on a couple new strategies to put in there. We're probably next week we're going to put in some actual quote unquote real strategies that we're going to start running through this system, and that'll be the next video, I'm pretty sure, showing what this thing can really do, as in parallel to hooking up all of the live trading stuff, right?
Yep.
And it is what it is, right? When we go live, it's gonna be with our money. we want to make sure it's right too, right? We don't want to lose anything. But I mean, if the engine's the same, we know how it works. Shouldn't be that big of a deal, not really. All the parts are there. We're pretty close. I'm liking it.
Yep.
So yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of all I got to demo. I don't know if you guys wanted to bring up anything as well. We had some conversations this week. I don't.
I mean, well, like we could touch on the candle thing because the guy asked about using a closed candle. So, there's a couple different ways we talked about doing this, and we would like to offer both. We'd like to offer that to the user. Obviously they'll have to be default one way or the other. There was a discussion about what to do with live prices. If you've got this streaming ticker of data, and what do you do with the now price compared to full closed candles, and there's a couple different schools of thought there, and really you could argue for both, okay, which is why we're going to offer both. The thing being, look, if you've got let's say an EMA cross strategy, right? That's a TA based strategy. That's oh, hold on, you changed the screen. Hold on. Let me set my stuff back up. I had you guys full screen. It's a TA based strategy. Okay, so you essentially you are using candles, right? It's not prices. It's closed candles to do that calculation. So, but now you have access to all this live data. So we said, it'd be sweet if, let's say your fast EMA was 5 and your slow EMA was 25. Why you could say, okay, well, for the fast EMA, make it 4 candles, and the 5th candle is the close price, and that constantly moves and recalculates, and then you can take advantage of exiting on a spike, right? Because if it spikes up, your calculation becomes true. You've crossed up if it spikes. The downside of that would be if you're using longer candles. Let's say you're on hour time frames. Well, by definition, that type of strategy is a patient strategy. It is designed to wait for closed candles, and when the condition has been completed, the very next price after the condition is completed, you enter or exit. But we're dealing with trailing and things like trying to adapt to the current conditions. So we want to allow people to do either. You can try to play with the current prices, which could burn you or could be very profitable, or you could stick to a traditional closed candle strategy, and that's exactly the way you'd play it.
Yeah, and it's all dependent on your exit criterion as well.
Sure. I mean, we're all about giving options, right?
Some people are scalping, and they want to take 1% gain. Some people aren't doing that. Some people are, they're looking for a 100% gain on a. They're trying to get a confirmation of a trend over a longer time period. So I think the discussion that we had earlier really focused our minds on how we can make everything configurable so that you can have both. You can have the best of both worlds. You can confirm your long-term trends, and or you can set it to get you out at the first available opportunity.
Sure. And you guys know me. Like, I'm a huge trend guy. Like, you look, if there's a 6% move and I know I could get 3% of that, and say an 88% win rate, I will take that all day. And that's all just purely trend-based trading. So, instead of trying to scalp and do a whole bunch of 0.2% trades, I'd be very happy to wait for a trend confirmation, ride that trend and exit out, with some kind of profit.
Mm-hmm.
My win rate is what's important to me, and that's different for everybody. There's lots of different types of traders, and what we're building is a tool. We're not selling like this thing that, hey, just this is always going to be this way, and this is how it works. No, it's a very easy to use advanced tool if you want to be advanced, and it's going to be pretty simple if you want to be simple, right? So Jason's really, really good at taking things that are complicated and making them simple, which is why we have the interface that we have so far. So anyway, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really happy to get to where we are. I'd love to see some of these strategies we've cooked up, get them thrown in there, and see what happens. They look good in Pine. They've tested out just fine. So there's no reason why they shouldn't work in a live trading scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, I'm good.
Okay. Colin, any last words?
Like to think of the last words.
That sounds ominous.
It does sound ominous. I'm just excited that I think this week we've done a lot of clarification around. It was nice to see the order book handling properly, and some clarification around how we're going to handle strategies. So I'm just excited to sort of dial that into paper trading, and then let's get live trading turned on as well and start looking at how we do that. And yeah, just as I went through yesterday and done quite a bit of testing of the latest of the default strategies that we're planning on implementing, and those look really good, really exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of follow up on that, we talked a little bit too about like, why are we releasing strategies when we can have the visual strategy builder? And I think the thing is, like, everybody wants to is chomping at the bit to trade with this, right? And so we're still a little bit of ways away on the visual strategy builder, and so we want to just to still include like a handful of really cool strategies. And Jared's team are actually doing some things that I've seen that I'm just like, wow, I think that's gonna like really blow some people away, because I mean, looking at like some of those custom things that you guys have built, and the difference between when you turn them on or off with certain settings is just like, man, this is gonna be killer. So I think the ones that we're going to come out with, are going to be really good for people. And, we'll follow up, with the visual strategy builder, of course, as soon as we can. So,
Yeah, I mean, because no doubt that's the meat, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
you know, we have to. We're at this point where it's like, look, we can't, why not? If we can offer strategies that work now, we'll offer them now. I mean, there's no, that's fine with me. I mean, we're gonna have, you know, plenty. We can add, I don't know what we're gonna do, maybe 10 or something like that. We're gonna throw in a bunch that should be plenty to play with. You know, give people they can back test and paper trade them all and to their heart's content, and you know, start making some money with this thing. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, cool.
All right, well, I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. We'll get it up online, and we'll do another one as soon as we have some more fun stuff to show you. Cool.
All right.
All right,
See you
gents.
guys.
Talk to you later.